Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. We are outside Old Trafford after our final game of the season for our season review here on Stretford Paddock. We finished third, a somewhat miraculous performance after the way things were in October, being dragged into relegation fights on ESPN, and now look at us, top three. Could be worse, couldn't it? What are your thoughts, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, massively buzzing the fact we've got Champions League football. I can't wait for Champions League football. I've been missing it. It feels like it's been years since we've had it here. It's where we belong. We should be in the Champions League, but you've got to earn that, and we have earned it. You know, after the Burnley game, I think that we were all at a low point. We were all there. It felt like Ollie was under pressure. Everyone was talking about Pochettino coming in. You looked at the squad. You had Rashford, who was injured. Martial had been in and out of the team with injuries. Pogba was like the forgotten man. He didn't look like he was even going to come back in. And we were relying on players like Lingard and like Pereira, who weren't up to it. But we've turned it around. You know, Bruno came into the team. Pogba came back into the team. We obviously had the break, which you could argue did us a little bit of favour because it gave the likes of Pogba and Rashford the chance to come back into a side that they might not have featured in as much. And we just got the results. You look at our results this season, yes, against the smaller teams we struggled, but against some of the bigger teams, I mean, we beat Leicester home and away, we beat Chelsea home and away. That's how we got top four. That's how you do it. You beat those teams around you. You know, you lose one of those games and you're not getting it, and we did it.
Steve's mentioned there about the top teams. I think Liverpool were the only team in the top five that United dropped points to this season, which is
that we lost to.
Well, okay, yeah.
In 10 games, we lost 1, drew 2, and won 7.
Which is remarkable, isn't it?
It's unbelievable, and it's almost perfect, isn't it? Really, I mean, for considering where the squad's been, for the injuries that we've had to the key players, and I think we all understand we've got a decent starting 11. I think it's fair to say, but the supporting cast isn't up to it, or Ollie doesn't trust them because they're not up to it in his eyes at least. So the performances against the other top 6 clubs, I've always said that is your marker of your manager, because that's where your manager earns his coin. Your manager doesn't earn his coin against fucking Norwich, right? Your manager earns his coin going to the Etihad and winning, and going to the Bridge and winning. And in and around the teams around you, that's where he earns his coin. The ones that you're just expected to turn up, that's where your creative playmakers, your Pogba and your Brunos, they're supposed to get a grip of that game. And there's a weird criticism that I've only ever seen this year. And it's just because people already made their mind up on Ollie and don't want to be wrong. And it's like, well, it's the players that are doing it. What does that mean? Honestly, what does that mean? And was it just Cantona when Fergie signed him? Was it just Roy Keane after Fergie signed him? Was it just David Beckham and Ryan Giggs because Fergie gave him a debut? What the fuck does that even mean? It's only because the players have dragged him through it.
Because we've got good players. Well, we have got a few good players, Adam.
It's the narrative that's been pushed, like, and it's obviously you call it the post Ashley Young table. It's obviously like post Bruno Fernandes table coming in. And like when he arrived at Manchester United, we saw a massive increase, but we were all saying that increase in terms of wins and points and all that. But we were all saying that we were crying out for these players. Everyone was saying it, whether it was Bruno or Grealish or Maddison or someone, everyone was saying we're crying out for that player in the team. And then when we got it, we saw an improvement in performances. It wasn't rocket science, you know what I mean? It was what Ollie wanted. But what I hate is, and I don't want to talk about other teams, but you look at other teams' performances and it's all about the manager. And here it's, since Bruno coming, United, and it's like, Bruno was a great part of that team. But Bruno is not the only thing you've seen change over the last 6-7 months. He's not the only thing you've seen change. You've seen better performances from the defence at times, apart from the last couple of weeks, in my opinion, when they got fatigued. You saw Martial and Rashford step it up. Greenwood come in with goals. And these are all down to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We had Martial, we had Rashford at the club, and people were saying they couldn't replace the goals of Lukaku and Sanchez. Well, actually, they've gone and done that. They've done better than that. And Mason Greenwood's come in and done better than what Lukaku did last season too. So I think Ollie deserves a lot of credit for what he's done to the squad and to some of those individuals in the squad as well.
You mentioned there about the players that have come in this season, how we've changed after Christmas. Let's look a little bit before Christmas, where United were struggling. We had injuries to Martial, we had long-term injuries to Paul Pogba. There was the whole penalty thing that seemed to define the early portion of the season, and then there was a lot of injuries. How do you think that first portion of the season was, and what was your optimism sort of going into the kind of the Christmas break? Because it's been a really long season. It almost seems like that was 2 years ago. Some of those games, didn't it? If you remember them,
I remember the 4-0 against Chelsea and getting carried away and thinking, yeah, this is it. Title number 21's on the horizon. But then the wheels came off massively, and you can't downplay the injuries as well, because we lost Martial, we lost Paul Pogba, arguably our 2 most talented players, and then we had to rely on players that weren't up to scratch. You know, Dan James come in and, you know, he's a decent squad player, but we were relying on him a little bit too much. Like, I don't mean to keep going on about Pereira and Lingard, but that for me sort of defines that early season when we were relying on those players who weren't performing at the levels we need for Manchester United, and it was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch as a fan, and you kept sort of getting the feeling that it was only a matter of time before something changed, something drastically changed, and a lot of people thought that was going to be the manager, especially when, you know, around Christmas time Maurizio Pochettino got sacked, and you're thinking, well, is he going to come in? And I think that a lot of us, everyone here thought, you know, you need to give Ole to the end of the season, but there was a lot of rumours going around that it wasn't going to be given that, and you can sort of understand it a little bit because some of those results here against Crystal Palace, away at West Ham and Newcastle, they were really low
Do you
points.
remember how we felt after Burnley here?
Oh, Burnley, I know, yeah,
That was
going
probably
that
the
mate.
worst.
Was
it Burnley or Villa? And we had Tottenham and City on the horizon, and I think I remember saying, I don't see us lasting the
I think
weekend.
it was-
No, I think
it was
going
Burnley.
into the Spurs and City game, that was make or break. Those 2 games back to back.
They were before the Burnley game,
yeah.
weren't they?
It was after the Villa
after-
game, I think.
when
Post
Joe's
the Villa game.
Yeah.
And
When-
you're like, wow, I don't
Because
even
we
know if
lost
we'll get a
against
win.
Liverpool and Burnley back to back,
Yeah.
and then we went on this run.
Jose coming in as well with Spurs, you thought if he loses against Jose, his predecessors, you know the press are going to pick up on that. And then we go to the Etihad, and it wasn't just about getting a result or losing. It was like if we get turned over, which it looked like we could have done. That's the sort of result that can cost you your job. But no, we got through it.
Yeah,
just
the
like we're getting through this.
weather's
I
lovely,
didn't
isn't
want us to mention it. I just wanted us to
Just
carry
pretend
on.
like it wasn't
Going through the rain. But here you go, mentioning it, making a thing of it.
Well,
Fucking hell.
there was-
Sorry.
there was a
Sorry,
bit of
we
rain
ruined
this
it.
season, but hopefully we'll get some light as we come to an end of the
Fuck
season.
off, Joe.
Steve, post-Christmas, we've already had Adam talk about it. Do you think it was all just Bruno? Do you think it was Martial and Rashford being back together? Because they've provided the most assists for each other, I think, since Tevez and Rooney. Was it Paul Pogba coming back? How do you explain the last sort of 3 or 4 months of United's form?
Well, we didn't have Pogba pre-lockdown.
Yeah.
So because you've got post-Christmas, but you've got pre-lockdown post-Christmas as well, haven't you? So we saw some fantastic results in there, obviously, against lesser teams, but we did what United are supposed to do in those games. We smacked Lask around. We smacked Tranmere around, apparently. Don't really remember that. And that's what United are supposed to do, and that's the problem, that is we've not done that too much in recent years. I think we've scored 5 under Ole, more than all the rest of the managers we've had post Sir Alex combined. And as Adam sort of touched on earlier, last year I think we conceded 50-something goals, 54 goals off the top of my head. This year it's 36, right? There's a tangible improvement in goals. There's a tangible improvement in what we've done in terms of defending it and clean sheets. I know this is a bit woo for a lot of people, but the expected points for United, where we should have been when it was all going tits up around Christmas, was 3rd, and we was only 0.2 off Liverpool, who went and smoked the league. When people were like, they were lucky they didn't perform, that's what we mean. United was underperforming compared to what their expected goals and assists in games were, and Liverpool were overperforming. Over the course of the season, that'll start to balance out, and if you look at how Liverpool's seasons ended, and you can throw in mitigating circumstances like the job was done, and how United's picked up in the middle, you do sort of track towards that trend. You never see someone like relegated with the best expected points in the league. You're like, that's just, it's not a thing. It
evens itself out in the long run, doesn't it?
So the fact that we was tracking for the 3rd best in the country and we've come 3rd, fine. There's bits that we've got to improve on, and I think if I had to put a word on it, it'd be depth. I want 14 first-choice players because we never go through a season without a single injury. It's madness to think that you would. So let's plan for it. Let's have an extra defender. Let's have an extra midfielder. Let's have an extra attacker. So everyone's like, oh, what are we going to do with Sancho, with Greenwood? Who gives a fuck? Buy them and figure it out. Because there'll be at points when this guy's out of form, there'll be points where he's injured, and there'll be points where he needs a break. And that's what Manchester United need to get back to. It's having a fucking big old squad that can come in and can perform, because we can compete on multiple fronts with this manager. We've been pretty ordinary this year, I think it's fair to say. We've been good and we've been bad, so let's just call it in the middle. It's been a pretty average Manchester United in the terms of everything. But we've been to an FA Cup semi-final and we still got a trophy on the cards that we could win. And you've got to say that we're one of the favourites for, depending on how we approach it. How we approach it could.
And that's 2 semi-finals as well that we had, because we were in the League Cup semi-final as well, which, you know, and you think if we had that depth in the squad, then semi-finals would probably turn into finals.
Because you look at the rotation we did in the FA Cup match.
And I think that's a big point. if we would have said at the start of the season United will be third place team in the country, some of us would have said, nah, probably not. But secondly, we all would have taken it.
Well, that's what I'm gonna
and that's
come
the
to
thing,
now,
like,
yeah.
we want to be moving into that direction. We want to be third, but not in the long run. And that's what I love about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's not treating this like it's a success. He's not saying, oh yes, we got third, we got Champions League football, jumping around with all his coaching staff on the sidelines. He's saying, now we need to push on again and close that gap to Manchester City and to Liverpool. And I think if you actually thought about it, who is the third best team in the country? I don't think the table lies.
No.
I think we actually are the third best
too.
team in the country.
And
I don't think Chelsea are better than us, Spurs are better than us, Arsenal are better than us. I don't think any of them teams are better than us. So now it's about looking up and not looking behind us, because next season we shouldn't be in this battle again. We should be looking up and trying to close the gap on City and Liverpool. And if we're not, then next season's been a failure. And that's why it's so important that, like when Jose finished second, did it really feel like a second?
No. This feels like a better result in the league to me than that.
And
did.
that's what I mean. And the board have to back Ollie.
When
Otherwise,
he
we're not
came
gonna
second, we only
capitalise on
spent 40 million after that.
That's the problem. Isn't
We
it?
got Delo, a free transfer league grant,
Fred.
and Fred.
Yeah, we need more. So before we go then, we're going to be doing a series of these. We're going to be looking at the players in more depth, we're going to be looking at the manager in more depth, and we're going to be
Are we
going to
be doing a series of
to
these?
transfers if we don't get flooded in the meantime. But before we go, is this season been a success for you in the Premier League? Obviously, we've still got the Europa to go, but
In context, yes.
yeah.
Out of context, no. Third isn't a successful season for
No,
United.
winning is winning.
Yeah.
We didn't win.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. People go, was it a success, yes or no? And if it's no, you got to sack him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the case. No, it's progress and I'm happy.
What about you, Jay? Success? Yes. That's a yes from Jay. Partially to wrap the video up, I think. But that's going to be all from us. Like I said, we should be back, weather permitting, for a series of these.
It ain't cricket,
So
we'll be
thank you very
back,
much for
bitches.
joining us. See you in a bit.